What if imagination is not merely a mental faculty, but an actual realm of existence that connects the visible and unseen worlds? In this video, we explore Ibn Arabi's profound philosophy of imagination as the bridge between spirit and matter, the soul and God, revealing why he considers it one of the deepest mysteries of reality. Please like and share if you think this video interesting. Your monetary support does mean the world to me. Thank you so much for supporting this channel monetarily.
It should first be understood that the world of imagination, alamul khayal, situated between the spiritual and physical realms, is referred to as detached imagination. This designation reflects its independence from human beings, as its existence does not depend on human perception. In contrast, the imagination that operates at the human level is known as attached imagination, since it is directly connected to the human psyche and relies upon the soul's act of perception for its existence. Compared to attached imagination, detached imagination possesses a more autonomous, enduring, and ontologically stable mode of being. Ibn Arabi explains that the essential distinction between the two lies in their dependence. Attached imagination ceases when the individual imaginer ceases, whereas detached imagination remains an independent reality that continually receives meanings and spiritual realities. It gives form to these meanings according to its own nature and characteristics. In this sense, attached imagination is ultimately derived from and grounded in detached imagination. Ibn Arabi further identifies a third level at which imagination functions, namely the microcosmic or human level. At this level, imagination is associated with the soul or nafs. Human imagination can be understood as a reflection of imagination at the macrocosmic level, just as alamul khayal serves as an intermediary realm between the spiritual and material worlds. The human soul likewise occupies an intermediate position between the spirit or ruh and the body, or jism. For this reason, human beings are often described as a microcosm, a miniature reflection of the larger cosmos. The role played by alamul khayal within the macrocosm is mirrored by the role of the soul within the human being. Consequently, Ibn Arabi maintains that imagination has no true locus other than the soul itself.
According to Ibn Arabi's understanding, the spirit or ruh originates from the divine breath mentioned in the Quran, and therefore possesses an inherent manner, the qualities associated with the divine attributes.
As a direct manifestation of God, the spirit is naturally characterized by luminosity, life, knowledge, power, will, and other divine qualities. The body, by contrast, emerges from the clay from which God fashioned humanity. Unlike the spirit, it is marked by multiplicity, materiality, darkness, and limitations. As a corporeal reality, it lacks the fullness of the divine attributes and is associated with ignorance, inert matter, and finitude. Positioned between these two dimensions is the soul, which combines aspects of both spirit and body. The soul is neither pure light nor pure darkness. Rather, it occupies an intermediate state between the two. Because it partakes of both realities, it reflects the divine attributes only partially and ambiguously, embodying a mixture of spiritual luminosity and bodily limitation. In this sense, the human soul can be understood as a barzakh, an intermediary realm that mediates between spirit and body. As a barzakh, the soul cannot be reduced entirely to either side. Instead, it carries characteristics derived from both the luminous nature of the spirit and the material condition of the body. The Quran itself points to different conditions of the soul. It speaks of the soul that commands evil, the self-reproaching soul that holds itself accountable for its shortcomings, and the soul at peace that finds tranquility in God. Within Sufi thought, these are commonly interpreted not as different souls, but as successive stages in the soul's spiritual development, reflecting its gradual transformation from a state dominated by bodily impulses toward a state of harmony with the divine. The central task of human beings, therefore, is to align the soul with the spirit rather than with the body. Unlike the body, the spirit remains inherently pure because it originates from the very breath of God. As the soul becomes more closely integrated with the spirit, its spiritual luminosity is strengthened, while the darkness associated with bodily existence gradually diminishes. For Ibn Arabi, this process of spiritual refinement is not achieved through abstract contemplation alone, but through faithful adherence to the Sharia, which serves as the practical path for cultivating the soul's connection to the spirit.
Although Ibn Arabi identifies imagination at the microcosmic level with the soul itself, he also employs the term imagination or khayal in a more specific sense to denote the soul's capacity to mediate between different orders of reality.
Through imagination, the soul bridges the divide between the spiritual and the material, the spirit and the body, or, more broadly, between meanings and sensory forms. In this respect, imagination resembles what is commonly understood in English as the imaginative faculty of the mind, though Ibn Arabi grants it a far deeper ontological significance. As a faculty, imagination enables the soul to engage simultaneously with both the unseen world and the visible world. It functions as a mediating power that translates realities from one domain into forms accessible within another. It is noteworthy that imagination operates in two complementary directions. On the one hand, it spiritualizes sensory and material objects by preserving and transforming them into subtle images within memory. On the other hand, it corporealizes spiritual realities by giving them shape, form, and imaginal representation. Consequently, the soul's storehouse of imagination, khazanatul khayal, contains images drawn from both the external and internal worlds. These images are never entirely spiritual or entirely material. Rather, each image reflects a unique combination of subtlety and density, light and darkness, clarity and obscurity. Imagination thus serves as the dynamic intermediary through which the soul encounters, interprets, and unites the diverse dimensions of reality.
Once again, ambiguity emerges as the defining characteristic of imagination. The images preserved within the imagination are never fixed or self-sufficient. Rather, their nature entirely depends on the source from which the imaginative faculty draws its content. Because imagination stands between multiple levels of reality, the images it produces can reflect either spiritual illumination or corporeal limitations.
For Ibn Arabi, the faculty of khayal possesses immense potential. Properly cultivated, it enables the human being to perceive and respond to God's continuous tajalli within creation. Through imagination, realities that would otherwise remain hidden become accessible to human awareness. Yet this same faculty also carries significant risks. The imaginative power that can elevate the soul toward the unity and luminosity of the spirit can equally draw it downward into the multiplicity, fragmentation, and distractions associated with bodily existence. Recognizing this dual possibility, Ibn Arabi repeatedly cautions against the unguided use of imagination. Because imagination is inherently intermediary and ambiguous, it requires proper direction if it is to lead toward truth rather than illusion. For this reason, Ibn Arabi consistently stresses the importance of strict adherence to the Sharia, as well as the necessity of guidance from a qualified sheikh or spiritual master. Although every human being possesses the faculty of imagination and carries within themselves a personal world of imagination, Ibn Arabi does not regard this capacity as automatically reliable. The imaginal realm can become a site of authentic spiritual realization, but only when it is properly disciplined and guided. Put differently, the inward world of imagination cannot become a domain in which one truly witnesses al-Haq's tajalli without following the guidance of those who have already attained spiritual perfection. These perfected guides include the messengers, prophets, and the friends of God, whose realization provides the model and orientation necessary for navigating the imaginal realm.
In this way, imagination is neither inherently trustworthy nor inherently deceptive. Its value depends on the direction it receives and the realities to which it becomes attached.
When guided by revelation, spiritual discipline, and realized teachers, imagination becomes a means of perceiving divine realities. When left unchecked, however, it can entangle the soul in illusion, confusion, and attachment to the fragmented world of bodily existence. The faculty of imagination enables the human soul, identified by Ibn Arabi as attached imagination, to gain access to detached imagination. These two forms of imagination are not separate realities operating in isolation. Rather, they are deeply interconnected. Moreover, both the microcosmic and macrocosmic dimensions of imagination exist within the all-encompassing reality of absolute imagination, al-Khayal al-Mutlaq. Since all levels of existence are encompassed by this greater imaginal reality, nothing lies outside the domain or governing principle of imagination. From this perspective, human beings possess access to multiple dimensions of reality. Through their external senses, they perceive the visible and material world. Through their inner faculties, however, they can perceive the imaginal realm as well as the entirety of their own microcosmic constitution, including body, soul, and spirit. Human beings thus occupy a unique position in which they are capable of engaging with both outward and inward worlds. Within both the macrocosm and the microcosm, God continuously discloses himself through the manifestation of his divine names and attributes. Consequently, the Tajalli can be perceived at every level of existence. Yet recognizing a particular form or manifestation as an expression of Tajalli requires more than sensory perception alone. Such recognition takes place within and through the soul because the soul possesses the faculty of imagination that makes the perception of Tajalli possible. Since imagination resides within the soul itself becomes the site where divine manifestations are received, interpreted, and experienced. In this sense, the soul functions as a theater for al-Haqq's Tajalli. It is the arena within which divine realities appear and become perceptible to human awareness. Ibn Arabi develops this idea further by employing the Quranic image of the womb, or rahim, as a symbol for the soul and its imaginal capacity. Just as a womb receives, nurtures, and gives form to new life, the soul receives and gives form to divine self-manifestation through the operation of imagination. The symbolism becomes even more significant when one considers the linguistic relationship between rahim, womb, rahma, mercy, and ar-Rahman, the all-merciful, all of which derive from the same Arabic root. Ibn Arabi was particularly attentive to this connection and drew support from a prophetic tradition in which the Prophet Muhammad states that the womb, rahim, is a branch of the all-merciful, ar-Rahman.
By associating imagination with the womb, Ibn Arabi suggests that the imaginative faculty is not merely a cognitive power, but also a merciful and generative space in which divine realities become embodied, nurtured, and brought into manifestation within human experience.
Ibn Arabi regards mercy as the fundamental character of existence itself. He pointed to the Quranic statement that God's mercy embraces all things, and argued that the same description applies to wujud. Since Ibn Arabi identifies all existence with absolute imagination, it is therefore understandable that he explicitly associates the symbol of the womb, or rahim, with imagination. Ibn Arabi writes, quote, "How beautifully God directs the attention of those who possess insight when he says, 'He is the one who shapes you in the wombs however he wills.' Among these wombs is imagination itself. Within it, God fashions imaginal forms according to his will through a suprasensory union and a suprasensory conception. He unfolds meanings within this womb and clothes them in whatever forms he chooses as indicated in the verse, and he composed you in whatever form he willed. Thus, he may present Islam as a dome, the Quran as butter and honey, steadfastness in religion as a chain, and religion itself as a garment. Imagination, therefore, is one of the wombs in which forms come into manifestation. It should be noted that Ibn Arabi identifies the womb with imagination itself, while the realities perceived within it are described as imaginal forms. A similar relationship exists within the human being. the soul is itself a mode of imagination, and at the same time it serves as the locus in which imaginal forms become visible through the faculty of khayal. The same principle applies to the earth of reality, which exists within the world of imagination and functions as a site of tajalli. As a result, a profound connection can be discerned between the womb, the soul, and the earth of reality. When one recalls that the human being is a microcosm containing within itself the realities of the entire cosmos, Ibn Arabi's instruction becomes more understandable. One should recognize that the earth of the human body is the true, all-embracing earth within which God has commanded his servants to worship him. For Ibn Arabi, the description of human beings as all-embracing is entirely appropriate because they were created according to the form of the all-comprehensive divine name, the name that gathers together all realities contained within Wujud. Human beings therefore reflect, in a concentrated form, the totality of existence. Ibn Arabi further supports this view through the well-known Hadith Qudsi. Neither my heaven nor my earth contains me, but the heart of my believing servant contains me. He interprets this tradition as indicating that the human being is none other than God's all-embracing earth. Consequently, the human person becomes the vast domain within which the divine presence is manifested, and within this expansive inner reality is found the very house of God. Ibn Arabi writes, quote, "When God created the earth of your body, he placed within it a Kaaba, namely your heart. This house of the heart, the noblest of all houses, was established within the believer. God has informed us that neither the heavens, wherein stands the inhabited house, nor the earth, wherein stands the Kaaba, can contain him, for both are too limited. Yet he is contained by the heart of the faithful human being. What is meant by this containment is the knowledge of God. This demonstrates that the human constitution is the true, all-embracing earth, and the very ground upon which worship is performed. At the same time, this should not be understood to mean that the earth of reality in the macrocosm, situated between Alam al-Ghaib and Alam al-Shahada, is merely a symbolic representation of the earth of the human body. Rather, the relationship is one of correspondence. Just as the world of imagination occupies an intermediary position within the macrocosm, the soul performs a parallel function within the microcosm. This correspondence between the human being and the cosmos constitutes one of the central mysteries of Ibn Arabi's thought.
One dimension of this mystery becomes apparent in Ibn Arabi's teaching that every soul possesses its own universe within the earth of reality.
Consequently, when a mystic contemplates his personal universe in Alam al-Khayal, he is, in a profound sense, contemplating his own soul. This idea recalls one of Ibn Arabi's favorite prophetic sayings: "Whoever knows himself knows his Lord." According to Ibn Arabi, among the countless universes contained within that earth, God has created a particular universe corresponding to each individual. Therefore, when the mystic gazes upon that universe, what is truly being contemplated is his own soul reflected before him. The universe becomes a mirror in which self-knowledge and divine knowledge converge. This means that when the mystic enters the state of contemplative gnosis and gains access to the universe fashioned in his own image within Alam al-Khayal, he effectively enters his own imaginal world. The theophanies encountered there, as well as the dialogues and visions experienced within that realm, are not external events detached from the self. Rather, they are manifestations occurring within and for the soul itself. The earth of reality is the privileged site of worship. Thus, the servant's contemplation of his or her personal universe constitutes a unique form of ibadah. This worship unfolds not in an external location, but within the deepest dimensions of the soul, a realm made accessible through the faculty of khayal. The human desire to know the reality of things is therefore not merely an individual intellectual impulse. For Ibn Arabi, it reflects a more universal longing embedded within reality itself. The realities of things seek to be known just as human beings seek to know them. To understand the origin of this reciprocal desire, one must turn to Ibn Arabi's cosmology and explore more deeply the relationship between God and creation as tajalli.
Such an inquiry reveals even more clearly the central role that imagination plays within his metaphysical vision. Thanks for watching. My special thanks go to Sean Wang for his generosity. See you.